Hi, everyone. Welcome to First and North. My name is Lou Canellis at Fox 32 in Chicago. Let's bring up the crew. Joining me this week on First and North from Fox 2 in Detroit, Jennifer Hammond. From Fox 6 in Milwaukee, Lily Zhao. And from Fox 9 Minneapolis, Pierre Nugent. Great to see everyone. Happy New Year. Let's start with the final.
Happy New Year.
Yes, let's start with the final NFC North standings. Bears, one of 3 teams this season to go from worst to first, their first NFC North championship since 2018. Packers finished second, but with 4 straight losses to end the season. Vikings third, but Minnesota put together at the end a 5-game win streak. And the Lions, surprisingly, last 9-8 after last year's 15-2 season. Bears and Packers, well, they add another chapter to the NFL's longest-standing rivalry this coming Saturday. This will be the 213th battle between the two franchises, but only the 3rd time they have met in the playoffs. They played each other back in 1941. Bears beat the Packers in the Western Division playoff at Wrigley Field and advanced to the NFL Championship. They also met in the 2010 NFC Championship game. I still have scars from that game. Green Bay winning 21-14 on their way to a Super Bowl title. All right, let's bring back the crew. I want to open up with the Vikings, and I want to open up with Pierre. Pierre, why did J.J. McCarthy, I've been meaning to ask you this question since the game on Sunday. Why did J.J. McCarthy pull himself out of the win over the Packers when he did in that game?
I think the pain tolerance got to him, Lou. The pain in the hand, a fracture in his hand. He started out the game. Kudos to him for going out there and giving it a go. We weren't sure if he was going to play in the game leading up to the contest against Green Bay. He did give it a go. Credit to his toughness, but at some point the hand discomfort just was a bit too much. He had to pull himself out of the game. Felt like he wasn't going to be able to contribute the way he wanted to for the rest of the contest. That's why he left the game.
All right, I'm glad you set the record straight because I heard someone on the radio and I saw some of the fans on social media taking shot at J.J. McCarthy, so I'm glad you set the record straight. All right, stand by because obviously I have more questions about McCarthy and his future in that town, but I want to hear from Lily Zhao now about the Packers. Lily, Packers didn't play Jordan Love or Josh Jacobs, but they lost again in that Minnesota contest. You think it was the right move because they're going into the playoffs? I get resting the starters, but you're going into the playoffs on a 4-game losing skid.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different if Jordan Love, Malik Willis, Josh Jacobs, those guys they're not going to be 100% at this time of year, but if they were healthier, you can't risk Jordan Love getting hurt. Matt LaFleur said he was available. Had he been needed to play, had he been the emergency backup quarterback, if Clayton Tune was knocked out of the game, he would not have thrown a football. He'd be passing it off every single snap. So they wanted to keep Jordan Love healthy. I think it was the right decision. You can talk about the rust factor versus just the rest factor with Jordan Love, but I think you have to keep him healthy, which is why we didn't see him in Week 18. The same with Josh Jacobs. The knee. I mean, these are 2 very valuable offensive players. You can't risk those guys getting injured and, a game that really didn't matter at the end of the day. But for the first time, it's going to be fun to watch Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs and Christian Watson and those guys just be as healthy as they can be in a playoff setting. But I think it was the right decision for all those guys to sit and not play.
It won't be fun to watch for us Bears fans. I assure you of that. Bears should have put forth a better effort. Not taking anything away from Jennifer Hammond's Lions, but, man, Detroit played like the team that was fighting for the 2 seed last weekend. Bears safety Jaquan Brisker, don't know if you guys saw the comments. He expressed frustration that the Lions out-schemed the Bears, and we all saw that they did. I can't imagine defensive coordinator Dennis Allen too happy about his safety criticizing the team's defensive scheme, but you move on. Monday, Ben Johnson told the media he was happy with his defense. And he referenced that he was happy that the Bears only give up 19 points in that game and really 16 to the final 2 minutes in that field goal. And he's right. Bears offense, though, a bit of a worry. Scoreless again in the first half, 2nd time in 3 games that's happened. And the Lions almost doubled up the Bears in plays, time of possession. Bears are finding out right now it's just not sustainable to wait till the 4th quarter every game to finally get that offense rolling. Now let me bring in Jen because, Jennifer, it's a real credit to Dan Campbell, and I mean this sincerely. It is a credit to that guy and the way his team respects him, that those players, the makeup of those Detroit Lions with nothing to play for but pride, man, they did what they could to deny the Bears the 2 seed.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And I'll tell you something, this game was reminiscent of that final game that they played back in 2022 at Lambeau Field when they beat the Packers, knowing right before they went out there that there was nothing to play for as far as a playoff seed. And they just laid it all on the line. This is a team that showed its grit, showed its toughness, and it was really nice to see the offensive line actually come together and perform well, because they had given up so many sacks this season, 36 for Jared Goff, and he had been knocked around and had been off the mark and not passing or playing well, and he had a tremendous game. Give the Bears credit, as you mentioned, Lou, that defense was pretty darn good. They held them to just 1 touchdown. The Lions struggled a little bit in the red zone, but thank goodness that Jake Bates was a heck of a lot better than the Ravens kicker on Sunday afternoon, and he was able to convert on his opportunities. And this was a game that when I walked off the field with Kelvin Shepard, the Lions defensive coordinator, I said, nice win, congratulations. And he said, that was for Dan. That was all about Dan. So that just tells you where Dan Campbell is for those players.
That does not surprise me. I want to continue on about the Lions, who are they're going to miss the playoffs for the first time since 2022. Dan Campbell was asked to grade his performance this season.
Not good enough. We didn't get in. I mean, we underachieved, so not good. I would give myself a freaking F.
It hurts, but we didn't do enough. We didn't make enough plays. We didn't win enough games. We don't deserve to be in the playoffs. That's just the way it is. We didn't do enough. So hopefully it does sting for us, that when we get back here in off-season workouts and training camp, that we're even hungrier than we've ever been, and hopefully that propels us into next year.
I really don't believe we're that far off. There's a couple of things we can do, and I just want to make sure, man, we go after it, man. And I'm not saying we weren't hungry, but let's get that hunger back, and we're going to bring in some guys to compete. That's the thing, man. We need competition in a lot of areas, man, because that brings out the best in players.
I'll tell you what, I love that guy's honesty.
Yeah.
I love his transparency. It's one of the big reasons why fans and media in this town love Ben Johnson, because he learned that from Dan Campbell. Lions opened the season winning 4 of their first 5 games, tanked after that, didn't even win consecutive games, Jen, since that 4 out of 5 start. Was it all about the injuries that they dealt with?
I think it was a couple of things, and it's interesting because going into the season, the Lions were one of 5 teams that's on the outside looking in for the postseason that had a better than 50% shot to make the playoffs. I believe they were at 67% chance of making the playoffs going into 2025. A lot of things went wrong. Obviously, the situation along the offensive line, partially because of injuries, but also the loss of Frank Ragnow. That was something that just hit them so much harder than I think they were able to take into account and even start to try to repair from. Also, I think the offensive coordinator situation, the John Morton issue, kind of met ahead, right before that Commanders game when Dan Campbell finally took over the play calling. And he had some good moments as the play caller, but also he had some struggles at time. And takeaways. The Lions just weren't able to get takeaways, and that was primarily because of injuries to their defensive secondary. Without Kirby Joseph, without Brian Branch, those guys are ball hawks. They are the strength of the back end of that defense. And so all of those things together really were what landed them from first to worst in just one season.
All right, I want to get back to the Vikings. Minnesota won 5 straight to close out the season, but the 4-game losing streak that started back on November 9th and then continued. Ravens, Bears, Packers, Seahawks, too much to overcome. And Pierre, you had some harsh words. I want everyone to listen.
This season is a complete failure. It has been a complete failure. Why? They didn't make the playoffs. Did the second-year quarterback inspire any type of confidence going into next year that he can be a franchise quarterback? No. The free agency spending has been swings and misses outside of perhaps Isaiah Rodgers. For the most part, the free agency signings and the free agency class has been unproductive. We just mentioned a moment ago, you're in cap hell. This season has been an absolute disaster.
That was from Fox 9's Vikings podcast, now podcast. And let me bring in Pierre. Pierre, I love the honesty, man. That's what it's all about. Is J.J. McCarthy the starting quarterback when the Vikings show up for OTAs next season, or does he have to fight to be the number one quarterback? And if that's the case, who's he fighting with for the starting quarterback spot?
Well, the answer to that question is we don't know the answer to that question just yet. Whoever he's going to be competing with going into next year is currently not on the roster as of right now. Going into next year, as of right now, J.J. McCarthy is the presumed starter. Should he be the presumed starter? That's really up for Kevin O'Connell to answer, and I know he wouldn't give a direct answer when he was asked about it at the end of the game. You assume that he's going to be the starter at this point in time, but you cannot go into 2026 just automatically handing the reins to J.J. McCarthy the way they did leading into 2025. You can't do it. There's nothing that you heard what I just said. There's nothing that J.J. McCarthy did this season. I know injuries are part of the story, but there's nothing that J.J. McCarthy did this season that leads you to believe that he is ready to be a franchise quarterback. He may grow into the role. I mean, we've seen guys like Sam Darnold, who was here just last year. They got off to a rocky start in their careers, but eventually they were able to figure it out. Well, I don't think the Vikings have time to figure it out whether or not J.J. McCarthy is going to be ready going in next season. You either are or you aren't. And if J.J. McCarthy isn't, you have to bring somebody else in that absolutely can do it.
Well, Kevin O'Connell knows how to play that quarterback position. Not literally play it, but he knows how to work it. That's for sure. Lily, we'll talk about the Packers' injuries and getting starters back in the next segment, but I want you to listen to Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio.
Matt LaFleur, the coach of the Packers, and for that matter, Brian Gutekunst, the GM, they have 1 year left on their contracts, and Ed Policy, the new team president, said back in June they wouldn't get extensions before the end of the 2025 season, and he's also not a fan of lame duck arrangements. So it's been pointing to up or out for both of those guys, and if they make an ugly exit from the postseason against a division rival, that could be the thing that causes the Packers to decide to make a change. So the Bears could deliver the ultimate death blow to the arch rivals by taking them down in such a convincing fashion. The Packers end up in complete and total upheaval for 2026.
Lily, if the Bears win big Saturday over the Packers, what are you hearing? Is there a chance LaFleur could get fired?
No. I think it would be an overstatement to say if the Bears beat the Packers, Matt LaFleur will lose his job. I don't think that will happen. Yeah, his seat will be a lot warmer, that's for sure. You have to impress your new boss in Ed Policy, and so a loss certainly will not look good, but I don't think that means an automatic Matt LaFleur is out of Green Bay. I think he'll be on notice next season if that's the case. I mean, you cannot have 3 straight years where you only win 1 playoff game. And so I think Matt LaFleur, he will take this game as a big audition for Ed Policy. He knows how important this game is. They've been the 7th seed the last 3 years under him with 1 playoff win to show for it. So there is a lot of pressure on Matt LaFleur, but I don't think if they lose, I don't think that he'll be fired next season. That's just not what I've been hearing here.
Fans feel the same way in Green Bay?
I think so. Again, only a limited amount of teams make the playoffs every single season. The Packers are perennial playoff contenders. They've made the postseason 6 times out of 7 under Matt LaFleur. A lot of teams would kill to be in this position just to have a chance, right? And so, fans are kind of in agreement. Again, he will be on notice next season if the Packers lose ugly and get bounced by the Bears. But a lot of teams would just love to be in the dance, and that's what Matt LaFleur has delivered for this team. But listen, they're not going to just settle for getting in. They want to win, and they want to win a Super Bowl. And we'll see if that does change this season.
I get it. All right, we need to take a time out. Lions and Vikings cleaned out their lockers and maybe without some of their veterans as we get the latest from Bears and Packers as well as we get into the wild card weekend. It comes your way next here on First and North.
It's the final word for Chicago sports fans.
This is what we wanted to see from the Bears.
Chicago Sports Tonight, covering the big plays.
Touchdown Bears!
And the next moves. Join Lou, Cassie, and Tina. Chicago Sports Tonight, weeknights at 9:30 on Fox 32 Chicago.
We're back here on First and North. Lou Canellis at our Fox 32 studios in Chicago. Jennifer Hammond is at Fox 2 in Detroit. Lily Zhao, Fox 6 Milwaukee. Pierre Nugent, Fox 9 Minneapolis. Lily, back to you. Give me the injury update in Green Bay. Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Zach Tom, are they playing Saturday night?
Yes, and yes. The good news is, I think for Zach Tom, he's missed the last couple of weeks. He's an invaluable right tackle. We saw what happened the last time Jordan Love played in Chicago, got that concussion, so he needs all the protection up front he can get. Zach Tom will be a big boost for this offensive line and the offense. He is expected to play. This will be the first time really in the last month where Jordan Love, Christian Watson, Josh Jacobs, and Zach Tom will be available to play. So this will be the Packers offense at its best, and that's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, those guys should be available on Saturday.
Bears defense better be at its best. What do you expect, speaking of defense, what do you expect from the newcomer from the Dallas Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to say that Trayvon Diggs, who was claimed off waivers on New Year's Eve, got to Green Bay on New Year's Day, could potentially be starting against the Bears on Saturday. Listen, they are short at that cornerback spot. Nate Hobbs, one of their starters, put on season-ending IR. I don't think he's coming back. And from there, you have Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine, guys that have been very up and down this season. You have Bo Melton, who plays both ways. And so I think you have to have a guy like Trayvon Diggs, who, again, when he has been good, he's been really good, but he needs to get back to that spot. So it's really been learn on the fly for him under Jeff Hafley. He played about 32 covered snaps and played particularly well, as well as you can, after just joining a team for a couple days. So it is a potential he could start, and that is kind of crazy to say. But they'll need all hands on deck, especially in that secondary.
Wow, that is crazy to say. Bears hoping to get nickelback Kyler Gordon back. He was placed on injured reserve before the Browns game, missed the mandatory 4 games against Cleveland, Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit. And Detroit, yeah, they needed him in that Lions game. What can the Bears honestly expect from Gordon? That's another question. Guy has not played in a month, barely practiced before then. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's in concussion protocol right now. Tyreek Stevenson didn't even play a defensive snap against the Lions. And Jalen Johnson still not back to his Pro Bowl form. And Jordan Love, you just heard it from Lily. He is healthy, locked and loaded, and ready to throw the ball all over Soldier Field. Rome Odunze, still questionable. He better play. He was jumping up and down on the sideline at the end of that Lions game. And the Bears need him. They need all the firepower they can get, especially with Green Bay getting healthy on offense. Something tells me we may have a high-scoring game on Saturday night. Pierre, Matt Eberflus fired as defensive coordinator in Dallas. Raiders are looking for a head coach. What do you think? Defensive coordinator Brian Flores leaving the Vikings?
That is the million-dollar question we are all asking ourselves here in Minnesota. I know head coach Kevin O'Connell spoke on the matter not long ago, saying he absolutely would love to keep Brian Flores here in Minnesota, but the question is going to be how much. So if they can negotiate a deal to keep him in Minnesota, that is absolutely what Kevin O'Connell wants, and I know that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah wants that as well. So the absolute number one priority is to keep Brian Flores in Minnesota. If they get outbid by somebody else, that might be an entirely different story. So right now I would say it's on the fence, but we know that Brian Flores likes the area. He's done great work here with the Minnesota Vikings. Everyone is hoping that he stays, but if a better offer comes his way, I have no doubt that he's going to take it.
All right, we will be watching. Dan Campbell wouldn't reveal what changes he'll make with his coaching staff. He didn't want to say anything yesterday. But what do you think? Is he going to hire a new offensive coordinator and possibly a defensive coordinator as well?
My hope certainly is that the first thing that he tries to tackle in this offseason, Lou, is the offensive coordinator position. I think that the days are numbered with John Morton, maybe even on this staff at all. There were some reports that he maybe had kind of lost the locker room midway through the season, and that's why Campbell was forced to make that decision. But then there's another school of thought that Dan Campbell looks at this position and says, hey, when my offense plays so well, I'm just going to lose my offensive coordinator, just like Ben going to Chicago and guys, moving on for other head coaching positions, as they tend to do in the NFL when they have great success as coordinators. So perhaps for him, maybe he refines his play calling and works on it on the offseason and goes into next year trying to do that and divvying up some of the other game day responsibilities to his staff. And maybe he sticks as the play caller because he knows he's not going anywhere. He's going to be the head coach of the Detroit Lions until Sheila Ford Hamp no longer even wants him here, which I can't imagine will be anytime soon. So it will be interesting to see how this all plays out. I would like to see Dan Campbell focus on what his superpower and strength is, and that is head coach of the Lions, working on the game time decisions and finding somebody else to come in as OC.
All right, Jen, I'm going to get it right back to you, but I wanted to mention this about the Bears because their biggest concern right now, I get it, is the Packers. But since we're talking about coaches on the move, there are already reports that the Bears are bracing themselves for a potential raiding of Ben Johnson's staff in Chicago. Assistants such as defensive backs coach Al Harris, quarterbacks coach J.T. Barrett, running backs coach Eric Bieniemy, and offensive coordinator Declan Doyle may be, I don't know, not flirting. I wouldn't imagine those guys flirting for new jobs, but teams want to talk to them. Now let me get back to Jen. Taylor.
Yeah, I was going to say, and actually,
go ahead.
Bieniemy, sorry to interrupt, Lou. Bieniemy was one of the names I think that was on a short list to potentially come to Detroit as OC. So, thus are kind of the negatives of success. Your coordinators get plucked from your staff to go other places every season when you win. Interesting.
Jen, listen to this. Taylor Decker, Dan Skipper, emotional after that win over the Bears, talking about retirement.
I don't have an exact timeline on it. I would imagine it's going to be a couple months. I want to make this decision moving forward informed, and I don't want to make it emotionally, because if I make it emotionally, I already know what the answer is going to be. But it's a massive decision, and it's not only about me. It's about my kids. I'll get emotional about that, but
Man, this might be the last one. Comes a time with all of us that we're done. And I got some medical stuff that might push me out. So.
You were the one doing those interviews, right?
I was, and I even get a little bit emotional right now seeing it over again. It was a really emotional locker room, and I actually went out onto the field after the game and walked off with TD and just wanted to kind of take the temperature, if you will, of where he was and see what his emotions were like. But from the start of that game, I had a great sense that was maybe his last game in a Lions uniform. He broke down the huddle, which is something that typically Penei Sewell does, gets the guys fired up. He is definitely the rally crier at the beginning of every game. But it was Taylor Decker doing it because Sewell was out on Sunday. But I also think it's because that may have been TD's last game. He spoke twice to the team, and afterwards you saw the emotions, very raw. He has been in this organization for 10 years, but the things that he went through physically to just get himself to game day. He missed practice towards the second half of the season. Maybe he practiced once, limited each week. But he has had so many, PRP, the plasma replacement, injections, cortisone shots, infrared heat, those oxygen beds. I mean, I can't even do it justice what he goes through just to get himself ready to play on game day. I think that his body may just not allow him to continue. And he did say, in all honesty, he and both Dan Skipper need to consult with doctors and medical professionals many weeks from now just to see where their bodies are and if it's even a potential to come back for 2026.
Jen, great work inside the locker room. Minneapolis was Sunday the last game for Harrison Smith and C.J. Ham.
It's been a pleasure. I know the year didn't go how we envisioned, but there's a lot to build off, like Coach says. It's been a hell of a ride. I really wish we could keep it going. Like, I think we're really hitting our stride right now. Just keep that going into the offseason. As long as you got air in your lungs and a heartbeat in your chest, never say die. I know it's going to be hard to step away, but I know it's time for me to be with my family. It's time for me to watch them grow up, be soccer dad. But these years are times that I'm never going to forget. Man, I truly, truly love each and every one of you. And, man, my phone is always on. Whatever you need at any time, I'm here for you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I love y'all.
Pierre, sounds like Cam is finished. What about Smith?
Still waiting on a confirmed answer whether or not Smith is going to be coming back. It certainly sounds like he's leaning towards not coming back, and we wouldn't blame Harrison Smith. He's been the quarterback of this defense for so many years, and he's played the game with a violent style. I don't know how much more football he has left to give. And if he decides to retire, can we get Harrison Smith in a shampoo commercial, please? Did you see his hair there at the end of the game? Looks fantastic. Harrison Smith deserves a lot of credit for that. But if this is it for Harrison Smith, what a career it has been. And let's not forget about C.J. Ham, young man from Duluth, scratching and clawing earlier in his career to get on a team, makes a 53, special teams captain, pillar in the community. He's a terrific story as well. Those are two great personalities and two great men. If that was their last game with the Vikings, they will be sorely, sorely missed.
Yeah, 4 great men when you consider the Lions and the Vikings. All right, we need to take our final timeout. We're going to come back and preview Bears-Packers. Give our picks next here on First and North.
You want to know the NFC North?
It's a heck of a division.
Only one call to make. First and North.
This show's all about homers.
Lou Canellis leads a team of NFC experts.
Super Bowl or bust for the Green Bay Packers.
First and North. New episodes Tuesday nights at 6 on Fox Local or stream anytime.
And you too can win the division.
Welcome back. Bears-Packers add another chapter to the NFL's longest-standing rivalry. This will be the 213th battle between the two franchises. Let's bring back the crew. And I'm going to start with Pierre. Pierre, who do you like in this game?
Coin flip game for me, Lou, here, but the only reason why I'm going with the Chicago Bears is because this Green Bay team, to me, has not been the same team since Micah Parsons went down with injury. They go into the postseason having lost 4 straight. I know they sat all their starters against Minnesota last week, but without Micah Parsons, this Green Bay team just looks different to me. That's the only reason why I'm picking the Bears.
All right, Jennifer.
I'm going to go with the Packers. I'm going to get my TJ Lang jersey out. I'm going to start rooting for the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be really hard in Detroit if we get to an NFC Championship game situation where we see the Bears against the Rams. This city would go bananas after the Lions missed the postseason. I'm also taking the under because I think there might be some weather concerns. I do like the fact that the Packers are healthier and also the fact that they played them very close in that meeting on December 20th.
You're lucky I like you so much. I would not welcome you back in this town where you and I started together back in the 80s. Lily.
Well, thank you, Jen. Of course, I'm picking the Green Bay Packers. Listen, this is a team that, while they have struggled without Micah Parsons, I mean, this defense played as well as they could without Micah for 58 minutes against the Bears. It just took a string of just the worst luck possible. The Packers doing everything fathomable to lose that game to Chicago. The Packers' offense is getting a lot healthier. I think they're going to rise to the occasion in Chicago. It's going to be a really heated game, but, you know, I love the Packers in this one.
I knew you were going to take the Packers. Of course you would. And, of course, I'm taking the Bears. Ben Johnson said Tuesday morning that his team is mentally prepared. They're mentally prepared to not only play the Packers, but to play 5 more weeks. They're going to go out for this game Saturday. Worry about the future when that time comes, but it's all about the Packers on Saturday night. By the way, since the Bears won the Super Bowl back in '85, they've won consecutive playoff games exactly once. That's it. So they need to win one at a time, and it starts against Green Bay. And it will happen. All right, everyone. Great show as always. For Jennifer, Lily, and Pierre, I'm Lou Canellis. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week here on First and North. Don't miss a moment of Chicago sports. Hit subscribe and stay in the game. Highlights, analysis, and all the action from Fox 32 Sports.